Looks like we're live on both. What's up, Chris? What's up, Jesus? Giving it a minute or two. Trying to see if some more people hop on so we're not repeating ourselves. Been about a minute, and I'd like to, get started. So today's episode or this live stream is really to help people on the southwest coast of Florida that are piecing everything back together. I understand, having lived through Hurricane Andrew, that this can be a real difficult time, and the build back's going to be a long, slow haul. But there's a lot of things you all need to be doing in order to take care of your family, build back, and make sure that you get full recovery as best you can from your insurance companies if you're insured, or if you're not, what you can be doing to protect your home to mitigate some of these damages. And I've asked some professionals that we trust to join us here and give us their take on how to best do these things to present your claim in the light most favorable. So I see Pely's jumped on here. Maybe we can start with Pely, who's one of our trusted adjusters. Let me see if he's on. I can grab him in here. Tito, what's up? Pely, how you doing, bud?
How are you, buddy? How's everything?
No, man, good. We're shooting some content today and wanted to hop on here and do what we could to put something out there. And this will hopefully play later on for all those people who you're helping out on the West Coast right now. I know you've already been down there and doing significant work. So thank you for taking the time to join us today and help people over on the West Coast. Can you hear me?
Videos of the stuff that you're doing, and congrats, man. I really like what you do.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's pretty bad over there. A lot of questions, a lot of different things going on. We're out there almost every day. We got our guys out there on the field, and it's sad what happened, but we're trying to help people recoup as soon as possible.
Excellent. So, and I have this going on YouTube as well, and I haven't introduced you. So just so I know they're not going to see you, but right now I have my friend Pely Paris is a general contractor that has familiarity with both insurance claims and building back a lot of things. Right now, he's out live on the West Coast, and he is out there with crews helping people with mitigation of their damages and assessing their damages to report them to the insurance companies. His wife, Jessica, who we may have on after, is a public adjuster and can also provide you guys with some assistance with submitting those claims, scoping those claims. And one of the things I want to ask you, Pely, thank you for joining us again, is what should people be doing right away? What's the first step to go about this to start scoping these damages?
Well, with everything that's going on, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of people that have never done a claim. Here in Miami, we've seen it quite a bit. The Panhandle was an opening for me because I realized that people really don't have an idea of how the insurance works. So just to give you a little bit of background, I started as an insurance adjuster years ago, and because of a mutual friend of ours, Jose Sanchez, who was an insurance adjuster for State Farm. And then shortly after that, he transferred over to the public side, became a public adjuster. Mm-hmm. And he's also a contractor, mold assessor, mold remediator. Mm-hmm. And when I saw how the insurance company works and what they do, then I also jumped into the public adjusting side. So my wife is a licensed public adjuster. I'm a general contractor with mold licenses, both the assessor and the remediation license. So by experiencing all these years and all these different storms in Keys, Texas, and the Panhandle, I've learned that probably the most important thing is you want to mitigate right away. You want to prevent additional damages. I've seen where insurance adjusters come out and have the client sign a paper, say, listen, if you don't put a tarp up, if you don't mitigate, we're not going to cover you. So I think mitigation is probably the most important thing to do right away. You do the best you can. Doesn't mean you have to crack your roof.
And that's that guidance is 100% spot on. Again, like you, I started on the other side. One of my first jobs as a baby attorney was representing two of the largest insurance companies in the state of Florida. And one of the things that people forget about in your insurance contract is you have a duty to protect the property. You got to preserve it and do the best you can to mitigate those damages. Even if it's a temporary patch job or a patch repair, you got to do what you can. You can't just come in there and let the house just completely get destroyed. So as soon as you can get out there, that's great advice, which is you need to mitigate the damages. So if someone, suffered a bunch of water intrusion and the house got blown in with, several feet of water, what should they be doing in terms of that mitigation?
Yeah, and it's just not for insurance purposes. It's also a health issue.
Yep.
You don't want water to sit there for more than a few days. You want to dry it out, clean it up as best you can. If you have to remove some baseboards or get a mitigation company to go out there and help you out. There's a lot of companies that work under AOB and assignment of benefits, or even directional pay. And I'll be careful with that because there's a lot of misinformation about how AOBs and directional payments work. The one thing I will tell you is if you're going to do one of those contracts, make sure that it's with a licensed contractor. Somebody who has liability insurance, workers' comp, somebody that if anything, you can go after, because there's a lot of people working without licenses. And that, when you're dealing with the insurance company and an assignment of benefits, it doesn't look right. So there's a lot of misinformation with that. But going back to the mitigation, you want to go ahead and try to dry it out, because once you go 4 or 5 days and that water's still there, you're going to have mold growth. And you usually see it behind the baseboards and the wall cavities, insulation. So you don't want to be breathing that stuff, So you want to tell the insurance company, hey, this is what happened to me. This is what I'm experiencing. Are you guys going to send somebody? Do I have to get somebody? Talk to your insurance company, your adjuster, or your attorney, whoever's representing you. In my experience, when you have a hurricane or any claim, you have 3 options. You could work the claim yourself with the insurance company. Try to see how far you go. You could hire a public adjuster, or you could hire an attorney. If you feel comfortable dealing with the insurance company, by all means, go ahead. I mean, adjusters are going to charge a percentage, and attorneys are going to help you in the long run. But other public adjusters say, well, I got to fix your mistakes now, because whatever you did or whatever you did, they might misinterpret or so on. So you do have to have a little bit of knowledge when you're going to talk to the insurance company. If you feel comfortable dealing with them, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, and this is great advice. I just filmed an episode, and tomorrow it's going to air about things that you mentioned, until you hit about scammers. You got to be aware about them. You got to be aware, because they're out there. And just like any other job, if you're going to do a job at your house, you want to interview not just one person, maybe 1, 2, or 3, to figure out who's going to do the best by you. And obviously checking on their qualifications, like you hit on, is very important to make sure that you don't get a scammer out there who's going to leave you, holding a bag out there. But obviously, if you're skilled, then you can handle it on your own, just like selling your house. You can sell your own house. You don't need a realtor. You can put it up on, on Zillow and try and do it yourself. Or you can try and deal with the sharks and swim with the sharks. And if you're knowledgeable enough, you can do it. I mean, it's not something that I'd recommend, given the experience I have dealing with both insurance companies and litigation and suing from a lot of these types of cases. It's good to have someone go to bat for you and not be stuck in the middle.
Yeah, like I tell my clients, you don't feel comfortable, or there's all kinds of rumors about public adjusters and unlicensed contractors, and there's so much information out there that I experienced that a lot in the Panhandle. When we were up there, we're like, no, the insurance company is my best friend. They're going to take care of me. They already told me they're going to pay for everything. I'm like, you're comfortable. Go ahead. Talk to your adjuster. Any questions you have, don't hesitate. Call us on the line. And honesty goes a long way. So we tell our clients, listen, go ahead and just, do this. Don't lie. Tell them the truth, so on and on. And unfortunately, insurance companies at times, they aren't your best friends, and they're not looking out for your best interest. It depends if you have an insurance adjuster that works directly for the insurance company, or it's an independent adjuster that was hired from another state that gets paid by writing up high estimates. And then the desk adjuster or somebody else says, no, we're not going to pay for half this stuff. And then you were kind of misled. And then you call me 3 or 4 months later and say, hey, Pely, I got a denial, I got an underpayment. They're not paying for this, they're not paying for that. Your policy. We got to read your policy. We got to make sure that your coverages are there. If you don't have coverage for certain things, a fence or so on, they're not going to pay for that. If the fence is attached to the dwelling, then it may be. And this is where attorneys and public adjusters come in. They know how to read your policy. They know how to interpret the policy, and they'll be more than happy to answer questions for you. Once the denial or underpayment comes in, then they call us and say, listen, I didn't get paid for this. What do you think? We review the policy, and like some PAs say, I have to kind of fix a few mistakes you made, or clear up a few comments or so on. I also tell my clients, if you feel uncomfortable, if you have an EUO, or if you have to sign a paper. I had one client last week told me, Pely, they made me sign a paper saying that if I don't put the tarp up, they are not going to cover it. Did you sign it? Yes. Like, why? You already got your coverage. You already have your insurance. Why would you sign anything that, well, the adjuster told me I had to sign it. I believed them. Well, no, you didn't have to sign that. But you know what? You signed it. You need to make it anyways. It's for health issues and for insurance purposes. Let's go ahead and put a tarp on. So things like that you got to be aware. You really got to pay attention to.
Yeah, and that happens a lot to my clients as well. I have, as an attorney, I get people like, hey, I signed this contract, and I'm like, well, you're bound by the contract. You signed it. You're not a baby. You oh, I didn't read English. I get people like that here in Miami all the time. Oh, I don't speak the language. I signed it, but you signed it. You didn't have me read it. I can't undo contracts. Maybe a provision that might have been unconscionable, we can fight about it, but that's not going to happen until we're down in court later on. That doesn't mean they're not going to deny your claim, or that they're not going to do the right thing. I mean, again, one thing we know from experience, having been on the other side and being on this side now, is that we get to help people. We get to help people, and we're honest about it, and our interests are absolutely aligned, and our job is to get you a maximum recovery, and that's something that a lot of people forget about. We're there to go to bat for you, as we're here for the consumer.
Yeah, we work together.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of public adjusters. I work with a lot of attorneys, expert witness, anything of that nature, and it's usually just dealing with the insurance company. If you have to go to an appraisal process, you have to get an umpire, all that needs to be told to the client, and they don't know how it works. So we got a lot of calls months after where they were saying, oh, you were right, or this happened to me, or how can I go after the insurance for certain things? So you just got to be careful how you approach the insurance company.
Yeah, it behooves you to not use someone who's a professional. Imagine going with some random person who was going to undercut someone else, and we'll scope a loss at a crazy number. Let's say you came in and give them fair value, but the next adjuster down the street says, hey, I can get you X amount of money, and they sign with them, and then down the road, the claim gets denied. We end up in litigation, and I'm trying to find this adjuster to try and get on the stand and verify where he got these numbers from, and whether these are reasonable given the circumstances. And all of a sudden, we can't put this guy on the stand because he's gone. He's disappeared. He's nowhere to be found. He was in business yesterday, and many times, that's how, when I defended these cases and I knew that the other guy wasn't going to show up, we knew there was going to be nothing said on that side, and they weren't really professionals at the end of the day. They were just out there to do the best by them. You got to be careful with people who are actually really there to help you versus people who are there to make a buck. There's a difference between the two, and I think if you really look deep down inside, you interview people and get to know a few people, you're going to know the difference between someone who's out there and who's money hungry versus someone who's got your best interests at heart.
And you hit on the nail, because I've seen some of these adjusters that come from Texas and out of state, and they promise a lot of things, and they mean well, and they write these beautiful estimates that we never see. Then all of a sudden, months down the line, where the claim got underpaid, and you stepple them, they come over and they're like, no, my estimate was for X amount, and it's a lot more when the insurance paid. Now you're like, well, if you wrote it up for X amount of money, how come my client only got this much? Like, well, I wrote it up. So that's where an attorney comes in and really find those insurance adjusters when they can and get them to say the truth. So,
Sure.
And I'll show you real quick. I'm actually working on Exactame.
Sure, let's do it.
That the insurance company uses.
Perfect.
So based on Exactame, we go ahead and write our estimates, and that's how the insurance adjusters also write their estimates.
Correct.
There's another program out there too, but I'll give you a quick little tour.
Sure.
But just to see, the girls here are amazing. They're working late. We have Jessica's desk, Kenya, Mike. They don't have to be here at this time, but they are, because they understand. They understand that the claims need to be open. We need inspections. We need to have people out there right away. And we're trying to help. We're trying to get everybody opened up. We're trying to get everybody scheduled, schedule the inspections. And I got the guys out there doing the best they can, putting on tarps, taking mold tests, doing what we could do to work with all central public adjusters to get them caught up with their clients, because there's a lot of people that need help that they don't know.
Absolutely. And you guys are there, on the ground, and it's amazing what you guys are doing. One thing that, you mentioned there is that you guys are inundated. You're working late. I imagine a lot of these insurance companies aren't going to be sufficiently staffed to even get people out there. One of the guests I wanted to have on here is an independent adjuster who, gets assignments from the insurance companies and is still on the other side, so to speak. And he is, he wasn't able to join the live right now because he slammed, and I think they sent him 80 claims over the weekend, and he's still trying to catch up. Just the sheer numbers and the sheer volume that's coming in is unsustainable. I don't think the West Coast has had a storm like this. At least the Southwest Coast has had a storm like this in years. And the building code probably isn't up to what it is here in South Florida because of Hurricane Andrew. I remember things getting severely tightened after Hurricane Andrew passed in '92. So I sympathize for the people. I have a couple cases that I've got over on the West Coast, and I've got counsel I'm dealing with in Fort Myers on some federal cases that it's a real slow sog is what I've heard from them getting back to normal. They're doing a lot of drying things out, and having us schlep into the office is tough. I know Fort Myers Beach took a really hard hit, and it's going to be a slow process to rebuild back. Even Sanibel, I've got a roofer who's going to join us shortly. I don't know if Javier's on there, but he went out there to take care of one client who was a family friend, and he's a big roofer here on the east side. And Javier has, I think, had 7 or 8 people ask him on the side of the road to help him scope their damages. So in addition to having Pely out there, we have a couple other people. If there's a lot of work to be had, and a lot of claims that need to be submitted timely, so to get these people some relief. And maybe in a future episode I'll start talking about some other avenues and how we can help from a real estate perspective if people aren't willing to build back and they don't want to fight this fight. We'll talk about assignment of claims and things you can do of that nature if you decide to sell your home, and the various ways you can go about that. Is there anything else you want to leave the people with, and maybe closing remark, anything else? I'm going to tag your information definitely on the what's it called, on the YouTube when this rolls out, or even on the IG. I've never really posted any of these after, but I think this is something that is going to be nice to be able to have people to replay it who couldn't join us at this time period. I'll put your information below so they can get a hold of you directly, and hopefully we can do the best we can to help these people build back.
Questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Yeah. Is there anyone out? I don't know if there's anyone on here that has a question. I've seen a couple people that we know that have joined and waved and said what's up, but I don't see any direct questions from people right now. I know my buddies who are over on that side of town are definitely every day dealing with it. My buddy Norman, who's a pharmacist, a local community pharmacist, Uptown Pharmacy. I'm gonna try and see if he can get on. Or actually, no, I see one of my other guests who's a car detailer who's been helping people dry out their cars. So I'm gonna try and get Daniel on right now. And thanks again, Pely, for joining us. We'll tag your info below. Appreciate you.
Anytime, buddy. And another thing, I've been to Fort Myers twice already since they opened it up on Sunday. And Fort Myers is bad. It's very sad. It's just to drop the damages. And I have about 5 clients there.
Yeah.
Who their water level.
Yeah.
I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it, but the water went all the way to the ceiling of their house. Everything's destroyed.
Yeah.
And now you get into policies where you have flood and you have wind. In this client's particular case, he had the roof seemed okay, and the cake on the pool pool seemed okay. Even the dock seemed okay. Incredible. But the whole interior of the house was completely flooded. And that's a flood claim. And he's got approximately $220,000 in flood damages in coverage. And he probably has more than that.
Yeah.
He's already thinking, well, do I sell? Do I fix it? Is wind going to cover it?
Yeah, no, it's I've litigated both sides, and one of the games I think they're going to play and the insurance companies are going to play is, you divide it out. What's this and what's that? So your experts are going to have to all of a sudden come up with a magic number as to what was flood versus what was wind. And that's one of the defenses I think they're going to be using. And, having qualified professionals and an engineer tell you, hey, based on the wind, this was this, and this could have been caused by that. And you have to come up with some plausible explanation to explain to, 6 random strangers in a box if you get to that. But I feel like that's going to be one of the defenses that is going to be presented a lot with this storm, because the storm surge was up there. And I have a feeling a lot of the people on the West Coast were not covered in terms of flood damages. And it's gonna be a haul. A lot of those cases will be litigated in federal court, and federal court is a different ballgame than state court. So I sympathize with everyone out there on those, but they need to be scoped out. And if you do the scoping from the get-go, if you can divide, what's one versus what the other, at least give a guesstimate, it's going to help with the assessment and the ultimate payout. All right, Pely. Hey, thanks for joining us. If we do another one of these and people want on, I'll definitely have you back on. Thanks again for joining us. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Dan, are you there? You want to join us? I'm trying to figure this out. How do you request to join? Let's see. Dan, what's up, my friend? How you doing?
How you doing?
Thanks for joining us. I know you've been busy cleaning all these cars in Naples.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No, thank you. How did you and the wife fare throughout the storm? How are the damages out by you in Naples?
So yeah, we're here in Naples. We had no issues. We lost, the lights flickered out a little bit, but we were really lucky. If you think about it, I was only 20 miles away from where the destruction really started happening. The night of, I was nervous because the wind started picking up, and I only put my shutters on the front and the rear, and I was like, wait, this might have been a big mistake, because I felt the wind coming and all my windows were exposed. And basically going forward, I think it's a learning experience for everybody. Just be prepared as much as possible. A lot of the people that didn't evacuate, it's sad what happened in Fort Myers. I didn't get too close. A lot of it's still closed off, but once you start getting towards the shore, you can see it's a mess. It's sand and debris and boats and houses, and everything's everywhere. So I don't have many tips, but from what I've seen so far, just be proactive when we have another storm. This isn't going to be the last storm, and I don't think storms are getting weaker going forward.
Yeah.
So
you're not in New Jersey anymore, my friend.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's snowstorms up there. Actually, Hurricane Sandy up there, but
got it.
The flooding here was just ridiculous.
Got it. Well, Dan, I didn't introduce you through. I realize I'm streaming over here on YouTube also, and just so you all know that you're not seeing Dan here live, but we're on an IG stream. Daniel is a car detailer in Naples. What's it called again? Car Therapy Naples. And he's got a lot of work right now, and one of the big things he's doing is he's drying out cars and taking and removing mold out of these cars that sustained a good amount of water damage, because the water levels in Naples went up pretty bad. And what kind of tips do you have for people who have water damage in their vehicles as a result of the storm right now?
All right, so my number one tip: if your car smells like a swamp, don't start your car.
There you go.
Don't touch it, because people bring their cars to me to get them clean. So basically, there was about 1 to 2 foot of flooding where these cars are salvageable. Anything that was in the 5-6 feet of flooding,
they're gone. Your motor's gone. Right.
So if you have flooding up to the bottom of your door, maybe a little bit higher, rapids are dirty. The car's gonna start 5 minutes after running. Not five. It might run for 30 minutes, an hour. Once you turn the car off, I don't know what happens. I'm not an electrician, but they just melt away. They short circuit basically.
Yep.
So you think everything's fine. I've cleaned 2 cars already.
Mm-hmm.
One was a RAV4, one was a Jaguar, beautiful car.
Mm-hmm.
You start it, you drive it, you go to turn it back on a little bit later, and it's fried.
Got it.
So if you have any smell of mildew, mold, or anything of the sort, you think flooding came into the vehicle, just I would say let it sit for a week, which is hard for most people. You want to use your car, but yeah, to avoid a total loss. Don't start it.
Yeah, don't start it. Dry it out and call my man. I'm gonna plug his info below. Danny, thanks for joining us, my friend.
Thank you, Mr. Vic.
Appreciate you. Hope the build back goes well. If you need anything from me, you and Marianne, let us know. If you have any friends that are in need of anything, we're gonna be taking some supplies over across either Saturday or Sunday to my friends who need the help over there and have requested certain supplies.
I'll be looking up. I think his name is Pely, right?
Yeah, well, Pely's my adjuster friend who's over there. My buddy Norman is the pharmacist, like Marianne, over there on the West Coast, and he's got some families that need some stuff. And I have another buddy who's an ER physician up in Sarasota who is also helping out with a couple families. So just wanted to let them know, and we're on the way with some goods. At least from we're collecting stuff. If you're in Miami and want to donate, drop it off at my law office by Friday midday, so that we know how many trucks and things we need to get over there.
I have my partner lost his house completely. It was flooded 5-6 feet up. He had a Dodge Viper, a Harley. He just bought his house, and I don't know how it's going to work with the adjustment. I think it's a total loss, but I might have him reach out to Pely because already with the Harley, that's the easiest one, and they're already under. They're coming in under, saying they're not going to pay out the full amount. The thing's brand new.
Yeah. All we can do, like, you can have them reach out to me, have them reach out to Pely. We'll review the policies as a courtesy, and we'll give them guidance to let them know how it works, because every policy is different. Every insurer is different. What coverages you have, is how it's going to affect it, because they're all different. There's a lot of insurers out there, and every policy is different. Every situation is different, how it happened, what it occurred. But the biggest thing is just to document everything and get in touch with people you trust. So Pely's out there already. And if you have any friends that look, he's still in there. If you have any other questions, he just messaged on there. Reach out to him directly, and he'll help you guys out. All right.
Yeah. If he has information, I have some people I'll send his way.
Awesome. But hey, thanks again for joining us. Let me see if any other guests are on that we. Let's see. Jessica, you want to hop in? I know I have some roofers. Some of the architects are texted. They texted me on the backside saying they got stuck in some meetings. Let me see. Running to a site. Oh, I'm back. Let me see if Jessica's there. Hello. Send me a request if you want to join. Where's Xavier? Let me see. Waiting for my buddy Xavier, who's a roofer out there. Jess, no worries. You're driving. We'll get you on another one. Thank you again for joining. Our architects and engineers got stuck in meetings. Our other independent adjuster is on the ground and unable to join us. So we probably got Xavier, who's been scoping a lot of roofers, joining us soon. In the meantime, are there any questions? Any other questions I can field? Any particular requests? Let me see if Norman's on still. Waiting a few minutes on Xavier. He's unable to join right now. That's what it's showing me. Let's try. while we wait, just to let you know, since this is already recording, we've got a couple tips. Uh, One thing is, be careful with scammers. We already talked about that with Pely. Don't pay people to pick up your trash. Put it on the side of the house. With FEMA and everything going on, there's free trash pickup. A lot of people are going to be providing free legal services and review your policies. Don't get hit with someone who's going to nail you with an excessive rate. Most attorneys are going to work on a contingency, which means if they don't recover, they're not going to take a fee. Please ask people for qualifications and take photos, take videos, itemize your damages. If you have an Excel spreadsheet that you've put together, I highly recommend you all, put every dollar and cent that you have spent on, mitigating your damages and itemizing everything you spent to protect your home so that they can see that you did the right thing and did what you had to do. Portal, I see Portal joined. Johnny, you in there? You want to talk about options people have to sell their homes, or you want to leave that one for another episode? Hi, Paola. How are you? I think Xavier got tied up. Let's see. Who else we have on the lineup? Our architect, Eddie. Mandy, our 6 o'clock. Oh, one thing, Pely, while you're still on there, I'm going to get you back on since we're waiting on some others to join. Pely, sorry, I'm getting you back on here. Something we forgot to cover, and I know I received a special request from Norman, my buddy, who's a pharmacist in Naples, said that they were having a lot of trouble or running out of tarps. So I'm not sure if your outfit still has tarps, but I was told by Norman and his wife and my other buddy who's up in Sarasota that they needed tarps. There was a foundation over there that had blue. They're running out of blue tarps, and people need to preserve their homes as we talked about it. So if you have tarps and available for it, I'll let people know.
Yeah, what I've been telling a lot of my clients is try to get a tarp wherever you can. Here in Miami, we still have, and we're 2.5 hours away. So we had pre-ordered tarps. We keep our warehouse. Later on, I'll show you a little quick tour of our warehouse and how we stack our equipment and so on. But tarps are running out. Almost everybody needs a tarp. I have 2 clients that didn't have visible roof damage. One was shingle, one was tile. And we went out there and she's like, no, look, I didn't have any leaks in the house. What I had was debris, a fence, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Well, they called me today. It rained yesterday. Now I got stains in the house. So just because the roof didn't leak the first day,
sure,
first week, doesn't mean it ain't going to leak 3 months, 4 months, 6 months down the line.
Absolutely.
And while we're on the topic of tarps,
sure,
there's often discussions out there about tarps and heat shrinks. And while driving up there, I was listening to the radio and hearing people's concern, and FEMA's doing a great job. There's a lot of volunteers. There's a lot of people helping. And if we need to take tarps, luckily we still can get them here. Mm-hmm. You could also order them. Amazon is working up there. They are making deliveries to certain places, so you could order tarps, and if you're capable of doing it, putting some sandbags or putting furniture strips and nailing them down to your shingle roof. Normally, I don't like to nail down to shingle roofs, but the roofs are in such bad shape that nails aren't going to hurt any more than what it already is.
Absolutely.
Water. If the roof isn't all that bad, then don't start putting nails into your shingles because you might cause more damage to your roof. But then I heard in this radio where someone said, man, AOBs and these and it's just saying it was a lady who called and said my mom's house, they charged her on an AOB $14,000 for a tarp.
Wow.
Heard that. I'm like, wait a second. So everybody went off. Everybody in the radio, everybody said, fraud and so on. And I started thinking about it. I said, wait a second, that just doesn't sound right. If somebody did do a tarp for $14,000 trying to scam insurance or something to that nature, then obviously that's wrong. But then I kind of thought about it. I said, wait, it might have not been a tarp. It might have been a heat shrink. And the difference is it's a big difference. I mean, tarps blow away within 2-3 months. They crack, the sandbags break, the fairing strips go loose with wind and heat and cold. And if you have the capabilities of getting a roofer out there, and you could go ahead or the resources and get your roof fixed right away, then a tarp might just do. Mm-hmm. But it's almost every roof. I mean, it's bad. So most people aren't going to be able to get a roofer out there. And a heat shrink is going to last a lot longer. They're more expensive. It could be $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 more. Uh-huh. And the heat shrink will last a lot longer, and it will affect your home more.
Explain. I understand, and I think I understand what a heat shrink is. And to me, it's that white paper that people use up north to winterize their boats, right? I feel like that's a new thing. I know to you, it's you're in the biz. I'm not doing as much of these days, but the heat shrink is a protective coating on the roof that it like kind of glues on, right?
It's a temporary repair.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to last forever. It is better than a tarp, but it's nothing like a new roof.
Got it.
So the heat shrink usually gets installed around the perimeter of the house with fairing strips into your soffit, and basically you apply heat to it. It shrinks it. It makes it tight, and it prevents moisture, rain. And the good thing about a heat shrink, it lasts a lot longer, but it's also a lot more expensive. Insurance companies typically don't like paying for it, but if you think about it, if you have, let's say,
if there are no tarps and there's a guy offering you a heat shrink down the road to protect your house, I get it. I'm all for protecting the house. You did your part. They may not like, the insurance company might like the number, but at the end of the day, you're doing your job, which is to protect the home. And a heat shrink, which is another fancy term, I know people use it now to wrap their boats and wrap their cars, and I think that's honestly a very bright idea. Whoever invented this heat shrink for the roof.
Yeah, and it really does. Some insurance adjusters and other insurance companies actually see the benefit of it, because even if you hire a contractor and they do the heat shrink, and all of a sudden they save your kitchen, because if your kitchen gets wet or mold grows behind it, now you got to tear out a $20,000 kitchen. So you have a 2,200 square foot home or even larger home, and you have leaks that are starting. Mm-hmm. They may continue. You may have leaks. Like I said earlier, one of our clients, it leaked overnight from rain. Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden, so tarps work to a certain degree, but not like a heat shrink. So if you're protecting your house and you're protecting a $20,000 kitchen, a $10,000 bathroom, or so on, mm-hmm. and you have a heat shrink, the insurance company might appreciate it and say, hey, we don't mind spending the $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 on a heat shrink compared to a $1,000 or $2,000 tarp, because you're saving inside. Now, again, like I said earlier, AOBs isn't for everybody. Heat shrinks isn't for everybody. Tarps aren't for everybody. It's a one-by-one case. So we normally look at it. We give our suggestions, and we say, okay, look, if you want to start with a tarp, give it a month or two, see what the insurance says. And then if you think you're going to have long-term issues by finding a roofer or getting a new roof or the funds or dealing with the insurance company, then a heat shrink might be the way to go for you. Doesn't mean it's for everybody. So when I heard that on the radio, I kind of knew what they were talking about, but immediately everybody jumped on the bandwagon. Hey, this is wrong. This is bad. Why would anybody sign an AOB for $14,000 tarp? Well, maybe it wasn't a tarp. Nobody asked that question. Everybody just assumed. Yep. And where the misinformation comes from when you're talking about AOBs and all these crazy contractors that are, and not necessarily. One needs to really know what they're talking about before making.
Absolutely, and just because everyone's hearing you say AOB, and for those who don't know, an AOB is an assignment of benefits. So this contractor that Pely was talking about offered to do this work, with no promise or guarantee that they were going to receive the funds. This is the price that they put at it, and now they have to go fight with the insurance company regarding collecting on the bill that they are presenting them regarding this emergency repair to preserve the home. So again, you're getting, as a consumer, your home protected. You haven't shelled out, any money at all. You're letting these other, professionals go at it and do what they got to do. And what you did was you preserved the home and you protected the home. So, and I understand what you're saying here. And while we all were like, wow, surprise, 14 grand. But again, the consumer didn't pay it. This is just a number that the company, has as the cost that they want to present to the insurance company. I'm sure those are going to be litigated. I'm sure the insurance company is going to fight like hell to get that down. And it'll be up to those attorneys who represent both the insurance companies and these professionals to ensure that, fair payment is made.
And all these questions come out and all these concerns come out because the insurance company sees something like that, they deny it, and then it goes into lawsuit or whatever. First thing they're going to do is, at least when they call me, they say, we need to depot you. We need to know what you did and why you did it. So then all of a sudden you're attending a depot and they're asking, why was it heat shrink, for example, was done 6 months later after the data loss?
Yeah.
What was the reason for that? And why is the price so expensive?
Yeah.
And then that's where licensed individuals and contractors and attorneys really come in. You're talking about going under oath. Okay, well, I'm a licensed general contractor. I have workers' comp. I have insurance. My guys are protected, from any injuries and so on by going up in a roof. And then you got to explain the whole process. So it's not like you can just do an AOB and bill $14,000 for a $2,000 tarp and get away.
You're sure.
They're really gonna.
Yeah, everything's going to be scrutinized more than ever. But one thing we keep writing home about is, look through your research, everybody. We're out here trying to protect the consumer from getting defrauded. We honestly have been in the business for myself. I've been practicing law for 12 years. I think Pely's been a contractor for more than that, for sure. And again, if there's any other questions, anything you all think we missed and we need to cover on another one, we're happy to do so. If there's anyone on here that's on the West Coast and would like some more information about submitting a claim, don't hesitate to reach out to us. A couple of my contractors who were going to hop on didn't make it on. They have a lot of pressing needs out there. Some people out in Naples and in Fort Myers, they just shot me text messages that there's no service. They can't hop on a live right now. They're I guess I get ground zero to a certain extent. So we'll get them in on another one. And I think this has gone on pretty long. We're going on for 45 minutes. I'm not gonna extend this any further. Pely, again, thank you for joining us on this first one. I appreciate what you're doing out there. And if there's anyone that reaches out to us, we'll send them your way. All right.
Pleasure.
Thanks again. Thank you guys for joining. And